Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Katie. For those of you who don't know me, I'm a well site geologist here in Northeast Wyoming, and I run a small plant shop out of my home on my days off. So today we are going to be repotting a new Anthurium cross that I got. This is a Carlablackiae crossed with BVEP. I got this from NSC Tropicals roughly about a week and a half ago. The day that I got it, we did end up rushing out of town pretty quickly that day for a family emergency, so this got a little bit of water and then it's kind of been neglected. So I would like to get it into some really good substrate and then throw it in my tent so it has perfect conditions so it can continue growing and take off here. The other piece of this video that I wanted to do today was a little bit of a show and tell. When I started looking around, I realized I actually have a lot of Carla plants and Carla crosses that I have accumulated over the years. I really do like the Carlablackiae. I think it is such a gorgeous Anthurium. So I wanted to just go through and show you guys the good, the bad, and the ugly of my Carla collection. I have not figured out how to grow Carlas very well. They do seem like a trickier Anthurium in my opinion with the conditions that I have. But I have them in a few different setups. I am still going to try to experiment. We're going to pot this up in a little bit different way than all the other ones that I have, just to see if I can figure out how to grow these really big, and I would love to breed with some of them eventually. So let's jump right in. All right, first up, since the plant that I'm focusing on today is the Carlablackiae cross BVEP, going through, I did realize that I have the reverse cross of this from Woohoo Tropicals. It is a BVEP crossed Carla, and it is a super, super pretty plant. And I do think that this one did take on more of the BVEP characteristics versus this one really definitely looks more like Carla to me. So it is interesting that the mother plant seemed to influence both of these seedlings from different breeders quite a bit differently. And I thought that that was super, super neat. Next up, these are also both from Woohoo Tropicals. I bought these two at the same time, and they were both actually seeds. These have grown okay for me, and then they both kind of declined at the same time. I've got one that's currently pushing a new leaf. I did cut off some yellowing leaves from this plant not too long ago, I think within the last day or two. This one here was always the stronger of the two, and I'm not really sure what happened. It looks like the growth point on the back of the petiole just kind of crisped off, and it's just done growing from there. It is pushing a new growth point from the side. So I am excited that I didn't completely lose the plant. It is going to continue growing, but it definitely has experienced a setback. And again, these were both seed grown. When they were growing very well for me, they had a very different look. So I don't know if the seeds came from the same parent or what the deal was. I looked back at my purchase and the tag, and it did not specify which one of their Carlablackiaes that these came from. So I don't know if it was just kind of they had a bunch of seeds and they just dispersed them out. Not really sure, but I do think it is really interesting how I got two very different looking Carlas. And again, these really are in rough shape, but that's part of showing you guys the good, the bad, and the ugly today. But we'll get them rehabbed and we will get them growing very beautifully again very soon. So next up, this one here is a Carlablackiae cross. So I think it's two different Carlas from Buzz Plants is where I got this one. And looking at a lot of these, there are definitely a handful of them that are all like one leafers. I don't know what it is with me and Carlas, but they tend to just rock one leaf. I am determined to figure them out though. They are very tough plants in general because I don't think I've ever killed a Carla. I just have not had one thrive for me yet. I'm determined to figure it out. So, and again, this one is from Buzz Plants. It does look like it is going to push another new leaf from the back there. And then, so this one is also from Buzz Plants. This one actually, I believe it was either a seed or a seedling that I purchased. And it was OG4 crossed RA8 was the cross on this one. And the reason I specify that is this next one I'm going to show you is also from Buzz Plants. It is doing quite a bit better than the other one, and it actually has 2 leaves. So it's sizing up for me a little bit. And this is Carlablackiae District crossed RA8 from Buzz Plants. So not living its best life, but it's not completely struggling like some of my other ones. So super, super pretty. Let's see. So this is like the worst of all of them. This is an Anthurium Dresslerii, NSC Dresslerii crossed with Carlablackiae RA8. This is also from Buzz Plants, and this is like, this did not come like this from him. It was super pretty when I got it. I think this was also a small seedling when I got it. It is just struggling. I've had it in kind of a cloche type situation. I had some of these bigger clear cups that kind of encapsulated it. So I recently took it out of that setup. It's still in the cup that it was potted in, and I've put it in my tent, and it is pushing at least 1 growth point. Nope, there's 2 on there. And then there's definitely just some aerial roots. So the top growth point has died off, but there are some other growth points that have definitely been activated. So hopefully this will be taking off. Hopefully it likes my tent setup. I do honestly think a lot of the reason that these Carlas are struggling is when I work, and especially as of recently, the way that my work has been here in Wyoming, I try to work as close to home as possible, as close as I possibly can, because I typically drive home from the rig after my shift every day. They're 12-hour shifts. And then I try to spend at least like 45 minutes to an hour like tending to and watering my plants, doing all that stuff. Within the last several months, I've been working on a rig that's about 2 hours one way from my house. So I work my 12-hour shift, and then I would have to drive 2 hours to get home. I do have to have some time to sleep, and then I'd have to drive 2 hours back. So as you imagine, that's just a bit much. So when I get here, I tend to not really water my plants. I kind of spend time with my husband and my kids. I take a nap, maybe do my run, and then I go back to work. So the plants have definitely gotten neglected a little bit. It's not that they weren't getting watered, it's just my husband takes care of them, and he also works a full-time job. So things just kind of would dry out a little bit more, and I think these are very sensitive to that. So I think that's where a lot of the struggles came from. So I'm really hoping with my tent that we can prolong the watering in between a lot of these plants to kind of prevent some of this from happening. So, and part of the reason I really love plant keeping, this stresses me out, don't get me wrong, but I like it because it's kind of like a puzzle. It forces you to like figure out what needs this plant is not getting. It forces you to think, troubleshoot, and kind of, let's try this, let's try that. And sometimes the plant dies, sometimes it takes off, and you're like, okay, it's happy. And it's such a rewarding process. I mean, it's not rewarding when the plant dies, but it is rewarding when you can make it happy and it takes off. So, but it's such a journey. It's a lot of fun. Yeah. So let's move on to the next one. This one, again, this is also from Buzz Plants. I didn't realize I had bought so many plants from him, but he is a really good seller if you guys haven't checked him out. And I think it's just buzzplants.com is his website. This one is a Carla crossed Nova DF crossed Pap crossed Carla. So there's quite a bit of Carla. It's kind of like a mix of like 3 different plants. So again, this is one that it had more leaves than just this one leaf. It is a lot smaller. You guys, this one, very, very small. That leaf is still very, very fresh, but it is going to be a really pretty plant. So we have 2 more, and I saved these 2 for last because these are both pure Carlas from NSC Tropical. Since the plant that we're focusing on today is also from NSC, I figured it would be fitting to kind of end the show and tell piece with my NSC plants. So This one here is the first Carlablackiae that I purchased from NSC Tropicals. Truthfully, it's tiny, it's kind of struggled, and I've had this plant for at least a year and a half, maybe closer to 2 years. I'm not really sure. I'd have to look back at when I initially purchased it, but it's definitely just rocking the one leaf. The back looks healthy, like it will continue to grow. This plant, and I will say as far as Carlas go, in my experience, when I have had outbreak of spider mites, and I don't ever get like crazy bad spider mites, but I will have some that kind of just are around, they always tend to gravitate towards my Carlas. I don't know why. I don't know if it's just a lot tastier to them compared to like my other anthuriums or what it is, but every time I have spider mites, I always go to my Carlas because I know if there are spider mites in my collection, there's going to be spider mites on my Carlas. I don't know why. It's just in my experience here in my conditions that happens. So I know this plant has had spider mites at least twice. I've treated it for it. It does not have spider mites right now. And I don't know if it just does, they don't love this pond self-watering setup. And that's why I'm going to pot this Carlablackiae up a little bit differently, just to kind of experiment and see if it prefers being in like a tree fern soil type mixture over this pond, because I have not had good success with the pond self-watering and the Carlas. So we're going to change it up and see if we can get a little bit better growth on this. If so, I'm going to probably come back and start repotting some of my other Carlas into the same setup that I get this guy into today. So there's that one. This is a newer Carla. I got this probably within the last month or two from NSC Tropicals. So it does have 3 leaves. These are actually all original leaves from NSC, so it's probably closer to just a month that I've had this plant. It did have a leaf crisp off, not any fault of my own, but the leaf had already came out during shipping or prior to, like, I think it was actually fresh when I purchased it. I purchased it off of a live, so I did see the plant, the exact plant, and it did not do well in shipping. And by the time it got to me, just the leaf, I knew, like, usually when you ship anthuriums and they have a fresh leaf, a lot of the time you do end up losing that leaf in my experience. So, and I don't know if it's coming from a really humid environment to my really dry Wyoming climate, and that might be a big factor, but I always lose fresh anthurium leaves. So it is finally pushing a new leaf there. That will be the first leaf in my care. So I'm hoping, really hoping, that this plant does a lot better than my other NSC Carla. But that one is super pretty as well. And I liked this one in comparison to my other NSC Carla. This one kind of has like some blown out veins at the top, which I thought was really unique and different compared to the first NSC Carla that I bought. So that is it for our show and tell portion of the video. So we are going to jump right into repotting the Carlablackiae. How I am going to do it today, like I said, I historically have kept all of my Carlas in pond in a self-watering lechuza pot or similar, we call them lechinas. I know that might be bad, but they're like made in China self-watering pots. They're not bad, which are these white ones. These are not lechuza brand, but we've kept all of our Carlas in this type of setup. And like I said, like, they're just not thriving as much as I would hope that they would. This setup has been okay, but again, I'm not really thinking that they super love this. I don't like how the water gets really stagnant at the bottom of the cup. So what I'm going to do is, I have a clear pot. These are pretty common. You can find them in a lot of different places, a lot of different shops online. It has drainage holes in the bottom. It is a little bit taller, and I did want a taller pot because I'm going to fill kind of the bottom with some leca, and then I am going to take my tree fern soil and I am going to pot the Carla in that. And then with the leca being at the bottom, I have, this is just like a clear like soup container. I bought a big pack of these brand new from, I think, Sam's Club, pretty inexpensively, specifically to have like an outer catch pot or something for some of these like self-watering type setups. I've done this a handful of times to kind of, if I wanted to keep a little bit of a water reservoir in there, I could. Or, you know, if I water it and I just let the excess drain off, or, you know, keep it as like a catch for drainage, that sort of thing. But that is going to be my setup. So yeah, let's get going. Okay, so as you can see, when I went to remove the plant from the soil in the pot, I actually really like the look of this mix. It's very chunky. I really like that a lot, actually. So I will definitely be dumping this into like my big soil bin. I do recycle as much soil substrate as I can. I have a big tote basically that I mix all my new stuff in, and I do recycle old stuff, but the key is I bake all of my soil before I use it to help alleviate any pests that might be kind of hitchhiking in it, eggs from pests, that sort of thing. So I will definitely put this out there. I might message her and see like what is in this mix. I'm really intrigued. But anyways, this like came right out of the substrate. So yeah, I don't think this was potted up too long ago, but the roots look very, very healthy. I might not even disturb them all that much. I might just give them a really good peroxide rinse and then get it potted up here. And again, I just use like 3% hydrogen peroxide, and I just spray my roots down. It kind of helps, just like it would if you were to apply it to a wound on yourself. You might hear some fizzing. It's totally normal. It's not hurting your plant. All right, so as you can see, we took our pot. We've got that layer of leca in the bottom. And just to kind of see where that sits in the dish, it's kind of about there. So it definitely gives me some wiggle room here if I did want to keep a little bit of a water reservoir to kind of create like a self-watering situation for the anthurium if I really wanted to. All right, so this is kind of the soil, what the soil mixture I make looks like. What we have in here is tree fern fiber. It's a soil mixture that we purchased. I'm not exactly which one I used. I kind of flip-flop between whatever's on sale, and it looks like it'll fit my needs. Bark chips, we do a ton of perlite, and then again, like if I have any recycled soil or substrate like this, that will be mixed in as well. And I do, like I said, I bake all of my soil in the oven at home, so I buy one of those big aluminum disposable pans. I fill that full of my soil. I put it in the oven at like 200 to 250 degrees for about 3 to 4 hours. And then that just eradicates any pests that might be hitchhiking in your substrate. So when you pot up a new plant, it isn't going to get infested with pests from the substrate. So it's not like you're shooting yourself in the foot sort of thing. So that's what I am using. All right, so that's what it looks like. We've got that layer of leca in the bottom, followed by that tree fern soil mixture. It's potted up in there really nice. It fit perfectly in this pot. We slid our little name tag in there. It will just sit in the little soup container. I'm gonna water it through and then I'll see how it does, like how long it retains the moisture, and I will decide at that point if I wanna keep a little bit of a water reservoir in there. The other thing I will mention with my anthuriums is I noticed they do not like to dry out, like at all. If they start to like dry out, they tend to wilt. They do suffer a lot of setbacks. Like I think that's why, as I mentioned, a lot of my Carlas are looking a little bit sad due to them drying out a little bit more than they would like. So I will make sure that this doesn't dry out, and then if it's drying out a little bit quicker, then I can make it back around to water everything in my collection. I will decide to just keep a little bit of that water reservoir to kind of prevent that from happening so my plant does not see a decline. Other than that, that's all I had for you today. I hope you enjoyed. I do hope that we can redo the show and tell portion with my Carlas and I can show you guys some amazing growth updates. If you have any questions or you do want to see an update maybe in a couple months or maybe when my Carlas do tend to take off, I hope, definitely let me know in the comments below. Other than that, I hope to see you in my next video. Bye guys. If you've made it this far, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe for more videos like this one.